back to another episode of Nothing But Dicta, the podcast where everyone has an opinion and you get to hear it. Today's guest is Dennis Holmes, a privacy policy manager at Facebook.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dennis Holmes, and I am a privacy policy manager for ads at Facebook currently. But more generally, I would just consider myself to be a privacy or data protection professional.
Could you give us a little more insight on what that day-to-day job entails? As law students, I feel like that's one sector.
When it comes to data protection and privacy, there's a lot of things you can do. I'm not currently using my JD. I have in the past. In fact, my prior role, I was working in the privacy practice of a law firm in London. But I work with everyone on the team I'm at now, like almost without exception, is a lawyer. But none of us are on the legal team at Facebook, so we all work on policy. So my day-to-day role currently focuses on working directly with product teams at Facebook about different products that they would launch or changes to existing products that deal with how we deal with data, and giving them advice on sort of the regulatory and or policy risk associated with those changes to help sort of shape and guide the development of those products.
So you said that you have a law degree, but you aren't currently actively using it. What made you make that decision to get kind of out of the private practice area and into more as a data professional?
I'm not exactly sure that I saw it as a move from private practice. I actually had no intention of changing roles. I think if it hadn't been Facebook, if it had been some other sort of smaller company, I likely would have stayed in private practice. So I think for me personally, the reason I transitioned out of private practice is because I got an opportunity to work at Facebook, which is a data-heavy organization that is quite prominent. Perhaps infamous is probably the better word to use with respect to issues of privacy and data protection. And so I wanted to really be in the middle of turning that around.
What would you say that, on your day-to-day seems to be the biggest challenge that you come across working for a company as big as Facebook?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't actually think that the most challenging part of my job has anything to do with the size of Facebook per se. I think it is, I work on ads. So I would say the most challenging part of my job is balancing the business objectives with policy risk. But I think that isn't particularly unique to Facebook. I think there's always, often when you're in a regulatory role or you work on some things of a regulatory nature, there's always going to be a clash between what the business wants to do and what is appropriate, not necessarily legal, but what's appropriate from a regulatory standpoint. Because my role is to think through what we should do rather than what we're allowed to do under the law.
So you, just to backtrack a little bit, said that you work mostly with ads. What does that kind of look like for you?
So without giving sort of a complete overview of digital advertising, Facebook empowers advertisers to share their information about their products and services to a wide array of people who are Facebook users. And so we provide them with various tools to find their sort of the cohort of people who are most likely to be interested in their products and services. And so to do this, we leverage data and information that we have about our users. And so I work on sort of the tools, the business tools that we offer to advertisers in order to set up and facilitate their advertising campaign.
So if you can go back and do the whole law school experience over again, would there have been a class that you would have maybe taken or something you would have done differently to lead you up into the point that you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I took, the privacy law class at Dan Fellow, which is sort of the only one we offer, at least at the time I was there. I think there might be a cybersecurity course, but that's a little bit far afield from what I do and what I'm primarily interested in. I think that, I guess what I would say to individuals that enjoy law school. school as much as possible and explore, what's available to you. I think that there's, a tendency for people to want to specialize, super soon. And I think that, it's definitely one path to take. But I also think that, keeping a strong foundation can be a good jumping off point.
You mentioned that this is something you've really been interested in for a long time. What kind of got you into the interest of privacy and technology?
I think I was originally interested in intellectual property. I was told, which I've now learned is incorrect, that I couldn't really specialize in because I didn't have a hard science background. So I assumed that that was not an option for me, and stumbled onto sort of telecommunications law and was exploring that a bit and realized that what was really interesting to me about sort of telecoms work that I was learning about were the privacy issues, and then decided actually I'm more interested in privacy than telecommunications, and really just started trying to immerse myself in that space.
So when you were immersing yourself in that space, did you seek out internships while you were in law school? What was kind of your path to getting to working to Facebook? Because it's something that I think a lot of people strive to work for these companies that have this huge name and this huge opportunity, and we always wonder, how do we get there?
So I don't think that path was linear at all. I did do an internship every semester that I could in privacy. So, and I will share that I didn't actually work in private practice until 3 to 4 years out. So I didn't do private practice immediately, and I was house counsel before I was private, and before I was outside counsel. So the path I took wasn't linear, and I think that you should just decide where it is you want to end up, and then take steps to get there. I don't think you necessarily follow the same narrative that you're fed in law school of getting on law review and having the best grades, and you can get go to OCI and get lots of callbacks and then get a big job and the summer associate. And that's definitely one path to glory, but I don't think it's the only path.
So my last question is, I asked you what the hardest part of your job was, but I never asked you what the part you enjoy the most is.
The people that I work with on a daily basis are incredibly intelligent, incredibly smart, and the best at what they do in many cases. And I also like the fact that I get to work, directly with engineers. I get to learn how lots of really intricate and complex technologies work. And that's really cool for me to sort of know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. We've done so many things with people that are in private practice that it's nice to hear from somebody that's doing something completely different. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. As always, if you like this episode of Nothing But Dicta, be sure to tune in next time for another episode, and remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube page.